Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back with the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! Jerry, does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, we are back here. Show me the money. We are back doing our NFL over-unders for the season. Join me again to do it. Last year we had a very close contest. Join me today, the great Joe D'Aloisio. I know I promised I wouldn't say great last time, but Joe, you are a great guy.
Mike, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on again. I always love the over-under segment, the show me the money. Now hopefully I can make some money.
Yeah, hopefully we kind of make some money. Last year was a tight contest. I think I squeaked it out by one, and this year we're going to have another go at it. I'm proposing on the air here that I know I'm not going to be down in New Rochelle for quite a bit because of the coronavirus pandemic and the fact that I usually help out with Iona Sports, and they're not going to be happening for a while, but I say the next time I'm down there, whoever wins this buys the loser, or gets the loser buys the winner a sandwich of their choice from the Avenue Deli.
Oh, no problem. Deal.
Yeah,
deal. It's on record. It's recorded. Deal. I thought you were going to say a steak dinner. I got a little nervous, Mike. No,
I'll be nice. I think the sandwich at the Avenue Deli is high quality stuff.
All right. Well, we could go for a sandwich.
All right. So
winner gets a sandwich.
Winner gets a sandwich. So now we have that on the record. Before we get into this, I also do some fantasy football talk earlier in the podcast. Are you excited for the fantasy football season?
It's tough to judge right now. I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. It's really tough. I've been in conversations with the league that I've been doing with all my Iona college buddies since we were, when we first came to campus when we were freshmen back in, almost 10 years ago at this point. We've kind of been contemplating what we're going to do because obviously because of the current circumstances, it's going to be much tougher. In terms of like drafting, let's say you have a top pick, and let's say you select Christian McCaffrey, and 3 weeks into the season he tests positive for COVID, then you're without a star player. So the strategy, I don't know if there really is a strategy that's going to work. I actually proposed going away from the traditional fantasy setup that we would do, right? The traditional fantasy league, and instead each week have a $10 buy-in on FanDuel, DraftKings, etc. Because at least it's a different team, it's a different roster each week. You know who's going to be in it, you know who's going to be out, and you could still have some fun and be competitive that way.
Yeah, I run a league right now. I'm the defending champ of it. And what we basically propose for our league is basically we're doing two things. Is number one, we're expanding our roster sizes and our bench spots and our injured reserve spots to give ourselves more flexibility in the event something happens away. Like if you have a massive problem with injuries or the COVID, like you can at least field the team. And the second is basically like we are building in different like money incentives based on like we want to cover ourselves. Like if the league, some reason only plays at 10 games, less than 10 games of the season, everybody gets their money back. If it gets to a certain threshold, we pay out based on the standings. If we get into the playoffs, we pay out based on the playoffs. Basically, we just incentivize different amounts of the money. The way it's not like you pay and then 3 weeks in, it's over and everybody's just out of their money.
It sounds like the commissioner in that league has everything under control.
Strong
leader.
Trust me, the baseball was much, much harder trying to figure out.
Oh, I could only imagine. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I believe we're going to end up still doing a traditional league, and we're going to expand the roster, add IR spots, etc. But still, I mean, like, that doesn't change the fact that one of your best players on any given week could be out because of COVID. And granted, it could happen that your best player, pulls a hamstring and he's out 4 weeks and gets hurt. But I think the situation is much, much different this time around.
Yeah, it is. It's just like it's tough. It's sort of like we're all agreeing to the risk here, and there are like weekly prizes in my league for points. So like if you have the most points, you get $25. So everyone has a chance to earn some money back. It's not like you're completely tied to the playoffs.
I'll tell you what, I can't imagine a year without fantasy football though. That's the one thing. So even though it's going to be so different, I'm still going to get suckered into doing 3 or 4 traditional leagues, and then I'll still be putting a few shekels here and there on DraftKings or FanDuel.
Yeah, same here. And let's talk about how we put some shekels on these over-unders For the record, I'm going to link to this in the show notes. We are using the over-under numbers from the FanDuel Sportsbook this year. We are doing the traditional format, 3 overs, 3 unders. It is worth noting here, according to FanDuel Sportsbooks, that if you're actually going out to play some shekels on these over-unders, number one, I'd say be careful listening to me and Joe, because we don't know much different from, like, let's say your guy down the street. So, especially this year, hard to put stock in it. But number two, like, they are putting in caveats that you have to play 16 games to cash the bet. So if they end up playing a 14-game season, you're getting your money back. You're not getting a profit.
Yeah, that stinks.
But it makes
honestly, that stinks.
It does make
no. It makes
sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. But if let's say the over under for a team was 5.5 and they won 7 games, but the season ends after 10, they should be able to cash that out.
Yeah, you could make that argument, but this is.
I mean, it makes no sense to me. Come on, I understand you want them to go the full season, but there's no over under set at at 14.5. I mean, come on, if a team's number is set and they've exceeded that number by the time the season were to be postponed or canceled or whatever, you should be able to win that.
Yeah, well, you and I are going to go on this system where if we pick an under or an over and they happen to hit that number, regardless of what happens, we will honor that bet. But like what I'm saying is, like I experienced in the baseball as well, where baseball, they put the over under number, you have to play 59.5 of the 60 games to get your bet counted. So this is not unusual from the bet from the sports books.
To me, though, I just don't see it. Doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me when there are teams that are at that lower threshold that could hit that over before they call it a season if it gets to that point. I think you're going to see other companies and other sports books actually capitalize on that and put some sort of clause that will allow them to still cash out, and that'll attract people to them.
Yeah, I think I've seen some. I think FanDuel also has like different tiers of bets you can make with the win total. So I would not be surprised if people have like, okay, for your traditional over-unders, you have to play the full schedule, but if you want to bet they will win more than like 5 games, you can bet this to win this like minus amount or something like that.
Yeah, I could see it happening. It makes sense.
Yeah. And let's go to the list here. 3 overs, 3 unders. Joe, as the guest, I will give you the choice. Would you like to have the first pick or the second and third picks? After that, we'll just go back to a snake at every other pick.
I'll take the first pick.
All right, so you have the first pick in the over-unders. Where are you going first?
All right, I am going to go over, and I am going to go Carolina Panthers over 5.5.
Interesting. Why?
All right.
Why the Panthers?
So I think it's just obviously it's a new era in Carolina for a couple of reasons, right? They got a new coach in Matt Rule coming from the college game. You never know how these college coaches are going to do in the NFL. There's a big question mark there. They also have the new starting quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater. And I think Bridgewater is very motivated to prove to the division, the entire league, that he can still compete at a high level. And this is his opportunity. He's not going to probably get another opportunity. He's going to make it or break it with the Carolina Panthers here because of his age, because of his injury history, etc. And that's me talking and not even including the fact that this team has arguably one of the best players, one of the best athletes in the entire league, in Christian McCaffrey on offense. You know, I understand the defense was awful, and they come into this season having to replace 6 starters, and they're I believe the youngest defense in the league. But if you get some good production out of the youngest defense in the league, and there's some solid development there, I could easily see this team squeezing 7 wins.
Yeah, my counter to that is like I can see the argument there, and the number is reasonable enough. You can say, okay, maybe if they all have to do is win 6 games, you win the bet. But to me, the concerns are, number one, their division is absolutely brutal. I could easily see them going 0-6 in it, and that's a big problem if you're trying to get over 6 wins. And the second problem is just like that this year, the lack of continuity, I think, is a big deal for some of these teams. And they have a new head coach, they have new coordinators, they have a new quarterback, they have a new defense. I think that's going to be a big problem without much of a preseason or offseason to get all that stuff working.
Yeah, those are 2 definitely legitimate concerns. I just still think, the division games, yeah, they're in a brutal division, but I don't know. When it comes to those divisional games, I feel like anything can happen. Those are always kind of toss ups. The unexpected always occurs during those divisional games, and again, you have a little lady luck on your side, and you end up you could squeeze 6 wins. Now, if this number was set at like a 7 or a 7.5, I probably would have stayed away from it.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm up first. My first 2 picks. I'm going to start with the over that I absolutely love here. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills over 8.5 wins, and I look at this division, the AFC East. The Jets are not good. The Jets have a lot of talent deficiencies on defense and at the skill positions and receiving core. The Dolphins are rebuilding, and they have a lot of new talent, but again, lack of continuity, all this. New England's not as good, and I think they're getting a lot of hype because of Cam Newton, but again, he has not been healthy in a couple of years. This Bills team has a lot of pieces in place, a lot of continuity. They bring in Stephon Diggs to be a big play weapon for Josh Allen, and they have a very good defense, and to me, I think they could win the division, and I can get them at the over and a 9-7 finish. I think they'll win more than that easily. Give me the Bills over 8.5 for my first pick.
Yeah, I like that. I was looking at that Bills line, and I was thinking the same thing with you in terms of you looking at that overall division and how the Jets are brutal. Miami's probably going to be brutal, and I don't have a lot of stock in the Patriots right now.
Yeah, speaking of the Patriots, that's where I'm going next. I'm going under on the 9.5 with New England. I feel like this number spiked once Cam Newton got there, and again with New England, it's like they still have nobody in the skill position teams. They have Julian Edelman, a bunch of who knows and who are they's on the skill position group. Sonny Michel's been hurt in camp. He hasn't been practicing yet. Cam Newton, we have no idea what he's going to be, and he's had shoulder problems the last couple of years. If he is not the same guy, that's a big problem, and I don't think they have enough talent on offense to win, and they are playing the first-place schedule, so they get a lot of brutal games in there. I think they might finish below 500. They're expecting them to win 10 games. I don't buy it.
Mike, so does this mean I have to pick a new under? Because I'm looking at my cheat sheet right here, and I had the Patriots also under 9.5 for those exact reasons.
Yeah, I mean, sorry I stole it from you.
All right, is it my turn, or are you going to take another one of my picks?
It's your turn.
All right. So I get 2 now?
We're going 1-1-1-1-1 the rest of the way.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. I apologize. Yeah. All right. So I am going to stick with the over, and I'm going to go Dallas Cowboys over 9.5. I am on the Dallas Cowboy hype train. I'm jumping on that train led by Mike McCarthy. And no, I already know what your follow-up question is. Are you jumping on that train because Mike McCarthy was the former head coach of the Green Bay Packers? No, it has nothing to do with that. With everything considered over the last 4 years, when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, they pretty much hovered over that 10-win mark under Jason Garrett, who, to me, was a mediocre head coach at best. All right, and the Cowboys have never been able to get over that hump. They replaced Garrett with a much better coach. The talent is there on both sides of the ball. Dak is clearly out there to prove that he's a top quarterback. He's got weapons around him. They just drafted CeeDee Lamb. That's going to help him. They have Zeke, solid offensive line, decent enough defense. They're going to score a lot of points. This is going to be a much better overall team. And I could easily see them winning 11 or 12 games.
I'm with you there. I had that as one of my considerations as well with the Cowboys. The thing I think that people forget about them is that they've been among the most talented teams in football for the past several years, and you can argue they've underachieved for a lot of those years because of bad coaching. And now they have better coaching, like you said. And I think he's getting a lot out of that team. And Dak Prescott took a big step forward. They're keeping the same offense. They're adding in some wrinkles. Adding CeeDee Lamb in the draft is huge because they have a great receiving core. They have a good running game, good offensive line. They have a good defensive front. The secondary has some questions, but I think, especially when you can basically pencil them in for 4 wins against the Giants and the Washington football team, I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I definitely think so too, and that's another a great reason why I think that 9.5 hitting that 10 mark is definitely attainable.
Yeah, I'm up next. I'm gonna go back to my list of overs. I'm gonna take one that I know that I'm going to go back to the NFC South. I'm going to take Atlanta over 7.5 wins. And I know this is a team that basically end of last year, they finished hot. They went 6-2 down the stretch. Everyone's talking about Tampa Bay being the big story in that division, but I think Atlanta is going to surprise a lot of people. I think they have a lot of firepower on that offense still. I think Matt Ryan's going to be doing his best, like under the radar MVP impersonation. I think Todd Gurley will be rejuvenated in a new system, and I think they have enough pieces on the defense. I think they'll be able to find a way to get to at least 500. I have them making the playoffs personally, so I'm taking the Falcons over 7.5.
Yeah, that one scares me a little bit. That one scares me just because of the debacle that was last season, and what you go back to the continuity and getting back on the same page this off season, where everyone's kind of on the same level playing field because of the situation. But I don't know if you're going to necessarily get a rejuvenated Todd Gurley. I think you're going to continue to see Matt Ryan do what Matt Ryan does, but I just don't think there's enough around that team to hit that number.
That's a fair take. It's definitely a very risky pick, but I feel strongly that's just why I did it.
You got to have some risk, though. This is the whole point of this.
Yep. And you are up now. Where are you going through next? You still have an over and 3 unders. I'm
going to finish up my overs before you take an over. One of my overs. And I am going to go, and this I actually think this is riskier than my Carolina Panthers over 5.5. But I like the Denver Broncos over 7.5. All right. I really think they found their quarterback in Drew Luck at the end of last season. They end up finishing the season 4-1 once he became the starter. John Elway saw that, right? We're talking about a guy who knows the position, who's played the position. He saw that. He saw the potential, and he did exactly what he needed to do in the offseason and in the NFL draft to try and add pieces to make his quarterback, or his hopeful franchise quarterback, to make his life easier. All right, he already had Cortland Sutton as a huge wide receiver target. I think he takes a next step in terms of development. But they had Jerry Jeudy, arguably one of the best wide receivers in the class. They doubled down, adding another receiver in the second round, in KJ Hamler, who's a speed demon and is all over the field. I also don't think outside of the Chiefs, when you look at that division, it's too tough. You don't know what you're going to get out of the Chargers with that starting quarterback situation. And I think you could say the same thing about the Raiders. I think the Raiders would have been more motivated, playing in Vegas, first season in Vegas, if it was, open to everybody being able to go and watch them. But, playing in a new swanky arena with nobody there, I think that's going to hurt them in a sense. And I really think the Broncos have a shot at winning 8 games.
Yeah, that's what I looked at, and I was staring at it, and I'm like, that just feels like so on the money that I don't want to touch it, because it really is like a very boomer bust pick where we're clearly on the Drew Lock train, and I can understand why he's looked very good down the stretch, but again, it's just 5 games. He could build on it, and maybe they win 10 and they're in the playoffs, or it could fall apart and they could lose. They could win 4 games. So it's a pick. I'm like, 7 seems right. I'm not going to touch it.
No, Mike, I could totally see them finishing 7-9.
Yeah,
like I could totally see it, or 6-10, just missing out on that mark. But I don't know. I'm really buying into the Luck hype, and like I said, I like what John Elway did by surrounding him with more talent.
Yep, I'm back on the board. I have 2 unders and an over to go. I'm going to take another under here. It's just going to be a tight one because the number is very small. But I'm taking the Washington football team under 5 wins. And I know Ron Rivera is coming in, and I think he'll help turn the culture around. But this is me not believing in Dwayne Haskins. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback in the NFL. I think he does not have enough weapons around him to help. Terry McLaurin is nice. They don't have anything else. The running game is taking a hit. They had to cut Darius Geis after his incidents, but they really have nothing there besides an aging Adrian Peterson. The defense has a chance to be decent, but they still have a tough schedule. They have a lot of games they can lose. And I think if they don't sweep the Giants, I think it's going to be hard for them to get over 5 wins. I will take the under 5 on Washington.
I like that one. I think that's a safe one. I think Washington is a debacle. They've been a debacle. I think they're going to continue to be a debacle. And most importantly, the quarterback situation. I'm with you on that one. I don't think Dwayne Haskins is a franchise quarterback. I'll tell you what, I'm more excited for that Washington team if we could see Alex Smith on the field.
Yeah, that would be nice. He can get on there. My guess is he probably end up being the backup most of the year. Maybe they'll get him in a cameo somewhere, but they have to find out what they have in Haskins.
Yeah, absolutely. But if the product's that bad, I think Ron Rivera will have no problem pulling him.
Indeed, you are back up to start your run of unders. Where are you going with your first one?
All right, my first under. I'm going Cleveland Browns under 8.5.
That's a good one. I had that on my list.
Good. Good. I'm glad I took one away from you. Part of me thinks like the NFL and Vegas are really hoping the Cleveland Browns take the NFL by storm. And I think this has been like the narrative and the story for the last, 4 or 5 years. And trust me, I would love to see the Browns. I don't have any ill will against the Browns. I would love to see the Browns be competitive, be good. But I just don't see it happening. Every season, it's high expectations. They end up falling extremely short. I don't believe in Baker Mayfield. I don't believe in his hype. I just don't think he's necessarily a franchise quarterback either. And it's really hard to think that this team is going to get anything out of Odell Beckham Jr. He continues to be a distraction every season. Every season there's something with him. So I go into this season with the Browns expecting more drama, expecting another saga, expecting something to happen, another headline. So I think Browns under 8.5 is pretty free.
Yeah, I like the pick. I think the thing that if you're pro Browns, you can say, hey, they had a quieter offseason. They addressed their offensive line. They brought a tight end in. They didn't do all these splashy moves, and they have a head coach not committed to the running game, which should help with Baker Mayfield's development. But at the same time, they're in a tough division. I mean, the Ravens are the Ravens. Pittsburgh's going to be better with Ben back. The Bengals won't be a punching bag anymore that Joe Burrow is there, and I just don't trust that team. I feel like it's just too combustible.
I just don't think you could ever trust that organization.
No. Until they actually commit to giving the coach and the GM more than 2 years to build a program, they're going to be a perpetual loser.
Correct.
All right, so I have one over and one under left. The over, I can go a lot of ways. I have 3 that I'm really torn between, and I think the number on this one's intriguing because this team has hit that number 4 straight years. I'm going to take Tennessee over 8.5, my third pick, because this is a team that's gone 9-7, 4 straight years. They have continuity with Ryan Tannehill coming back in year 2. I know it's a risk that he could revert, but they have a good receiving corps. They do pound the football with Derrick Henry, and they have a very good offensive line, a good defense, and the division's bad. The Texans are going backwards. The Jaguars might be the worst team in football. The Colts are good. I'll give them that, but I think Tennessee can easily win 9 games. So give me the Titans over 8.5 wins.
You're okay with the quarterback situation over there? You're confident that Ryan Tannehill could lead him again?
I think that they did not ask him to do a ton last year. It's not like he magically had to throw the ball 50 times. This is a team that's built on its running game, and I think Derrick Henry doesn't have a lot of mileage on the tires, so I think they'll be able to ride him for another year. And this is sort of counterintuitive to the modern NFL. Everybody's trying to pass.
That's the one thing that scares me is that I think Derrick Henry has plenty left in the tank, but if he gets slowed up or goes down and now you have to rely on Ryan Tannehill, you're in big trouble there.
Yeah, it's just another thing. It's like this team, they historically find a way to get to 9-7, and if that's all I need to win this one, so I feel confident I can at least get there again.
Yeah, I can see it happening.
All right, so you are up. You got 2 more unders. Where are you going with the next one?
I got 2 more unders, and I got to replace one of my unders because you took the easy one with the Patriots. I am going. What was it? 1 second. I'm sorry because I actually just looked at it now and I said I'm switching it. I am going Chicago Bears under 8 games. I think the fact that there is a quarterback situation in Chicago, I think that'll make the whole situation in Chicago horrendous. You basically told Mitch Trubisky you have no faith in him. All right, so now I think it's hard. It's going to be hard for him to compete. Not that he was the greatest quarterback out there. And then you're also bringing in a guy like Nick Foles, who, yeah, we've seen him succeed. We've seen him win a Super Bowl, but we've also seen him fall on his face. I just think there's too much switching, not enough overall talent with that team. I just think 8's a pretty high number, and they just escaped injury just a day ago with their running back in David Montgomery. But if he were to go down and miss some time, some serious time, again, you're asking for mediocre quarterbacks to do a lot, and I think that'll get you under 8 games.
Yeah, that was one I won on last year with the Bears, and I do like it again because I don't trust the quarterback situation there. The weapons are not great. They have a very strange offseason, too. They overpaid Jimmy Graham. They gave Robert Quinn a lot of money. The defense is still good, but I do think they could try and force that job to Trubisky to justify him being picked second overall in a draft. They could have had Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson, and he's going to let them down again. So I could see this being a 6-10 last place finish with the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that roster. I mean, they got nine tight ends, and they paid Jimmy Graham a boatload of money. And I watched Jimmy Graham pretty closely over the last couple seasons, and that was pretty outrageous with the money that he got based on how he produced.
That's very true. I have one more under left. I'm going out to the NFC West here. I'm taking the Los Angeles Rams under 8.5 wins. Team Hard Knocks, half of Hard Knocks anyway this year, and this is something that I've noticed that the division has gotten so much better from when the Rams won the NFC 2 years ago. The Rams have gotten considerably worse. They still have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on defense. A lot of the depth in that unit is gone. Jared Goff took a big step back last year. Todd Gurley is gone. Brandon Cooks is gone. And they do have to contend with a improving Cardinals team. The Seahawks are very good. The 49ers just went to the Super Bowl, so that's going to be tough for them to win in that division. Plus, they have to play in the tougher NFC. I don't like the Rams here. I think they could finish below 500 here. So give me the Rams under 8.5.
You think they could finish below 500, huh?
I do. I'm not a big. I think Goff taking a big step back last year is a big concern.
Wow. See, I don't know about below 500, but I could see them hovering right around that number.
They've also had a lot of key pieces walk out the door over the last 2 years, and they've mismanaged their salary cap. They don't have first-round picks. This could flame out very quickly for the Rams.
Oh, without a doubt.
All right, so I'm assuming I didn't steal that under from you for your last one, so.
You didn't. My last under, I am going Colts under 9. All right, and this was one that wasn't originally on, and I'm not going to tell you what I originally had on because that may be yours. But with that, actually, you just finished all three of yours, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but you took my Patriots one, so I had to replace it. Colts under 9. And the reason why is I think Phillip Rivers is done, right? He's going to a Colts team, which, would you consider that a better situation than what he had in L.A.?
I do, because he has a better offensive line. He can stand back there and throw the football, and he has good runners he can dump the ball off to. I think he's in a better situation.
I mean, I thought in L.A., because of the defense, Keenan Allen, he had a better situation there. I understand the offensive line will definitely help him out. But I don't know. I just don't. After watching him play last season, throwing 20 interceptions, only 23 touchdowns, I just don't know if you're getting a rejuvenated veteran quarterback in this new situation with the Colts. And again, you look at that division, and they'll probably take 2 from Jacksonville. There won't be gimmies with the Texans because they're always at 500, right? They're always going to give people problems. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up somehow figuring out a way to win the division, because that division's always out of whack. And then, like you said, the Tennessee Titans. So I just don't buy into Phillip Rivers kind of going to Indy and they automatically are becoming a 9+ win team. They just finished last season with 7 wins. I think they're right around that same mark.
Yeah, that makes some sense. So to reset here, where we ended up with the over-unders this year, Joe has gone with the Panthers over 5.5, the Cowboys over 9.5, Broncos and Drew Lock over 7.5, the Cleveland Browns under 8.5, the Chicago Bears under 8, and the Colts under 9. I have gone with the Bills over 8.5, the Patriots under 9.5, Falcons over 7.5, Washington under 5, Titans over 8.5, and the Rams under 8.5. Those are the over-under picks for this year. I will say, also curious, you did not touch either New York team this year.
Yeah, I was thinking of it, adding a little bit of New York flavor, but then I realized how terrible both those teams are, and I said, you know what, it's not even worth it.
Yeah, I think they could both easily hit the unders. The Jets are 6.5, the Giants are at a 6. I think neither team is in a good spot. The Jets are a little better, but they have a brutal schedule. The Giants just have so much work to do.
It's just way too close to call. That's a coin toss, and it's just not even worth getting agitated or losing sleep over those.
No, the Jets, I will personally say, I think like the only way they hit the over is if Sam Darnold elevates the team significantly. I think otherwise, they're relying on everybody else to step up. It's going to be a long year.
Yeah, and I still think Darnold needs some more weapons, to be honest with you.
Oh, he does.
So if they would have addressed that a little bit better this offseason, I may have jumped on that if that was at the number. But the fact that they didn't, that's a little concerning for me.
Yeah, they did not. And also, once again, we are doing the Show Me the Money Picks Challenge week. Year number 3 of the Picks Challenge is back. You're the captain again for the second year in a row. So we will see how the Challenger squad does this year.
All I'm saying is when I win, I'm going to order the most expensive sandwich at the deli. So just be ready to make sure you bring your wallet, Phillips.
Yeah, I'll bring the wallet. And next week on the picks, making his debut for the season, the guy who famously called the Garrett Cole to the Yankees at the winter meetings on the podcast and picked the Super Bowl game matchup with me, Nick Frietta, back on the podcast doing week 1 picks next week.
Wow. Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. He closed last season. He's starting this season.
That's what I like to hear.
Indeed. Joe, thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, how can people follow you on social media and keep up with some of the stuff you're up to?
Yeah, give me a follow on Twitter at Joe _.
Do not forget that double.
Don't forget the double. DALOISIO.
All right. Thanks again, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Mike, anytime. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Coming up next, I will be hopping on with our friend Martino Pucci. We're going to discuss the fantasy football show, The League. I love that classic right after this.